Being a good aimer can be boiled down to 7 subcategories. And if you understand and master all 7, you'll be an unstoppable aimer. The problem a lot of players face is that they master 3 or 4 aiming subcategories, but not all 7. So today I'll give you a fully structured video on all 7 aspects, so you can practice upon the correct fundamentals. Practicing without the right fundamentals will cause you to quickly hit a skill cap, and this is what happens to a lot of players. Whereas if you understand all 7, the sky's the limit in terms of skill. And the very first fundamental we're going to be talking about is click timing. Click timing is incredibly important in Valorant because throughout our careers, we're going to be holding a lot of angles. Mastering click timing is essentially being able to hit headshots consistently when an opponent swings. There are many ways to improve click timing, but the main one I strongly recommend is hopping into DM and forcing yourself to run around one-tapping people with the Vandal. Or you can simply use the Guardian. You see, a problem a ton of players have is that they have played a lot, and through their hours, they built up some bad habits. Maybe they're instinctively spraying when they shouldn't. Maybe their burst firing is unoptimal in the sense that they don't let the recoil fully reset, or maybe they're over-flicking consistently. The beauty of playing DM and forcing yourself to one-tap everyone is that you'll be able to eliminate those bad habits because of just how much accuracy is needed to hit said one-taps. If you feel like click timing is holding you back, I would strongly recommend playing at least 2 DMs a day, going around attempting to one-tap everyone. Don't be demotivated if you perform terribly in the beginning. That's a sign that there's a ton of improvement to be extracted from what you're doing. Another potentially even more effective way of improving click timing is through playing either KovaaKs or AimLab. Now, when it comes to improving in everything, you want to ask yourself, how can I improve faster than everyone else? Where do I get an edge? And the answer to that in terms of aiming is directly through aim trainers. The reason is that you'll get an enormous amount of repetitions in per hour played, meaning that the time you actually spend on aim trainers will be incredibly effective in the context of improving your aim. If you aim train consistently, you'll very quickly find yourself in the top 1% of aimers in Valorant. I'm talking, if you aim train for 1 hour a day for a few months, you'll be there. Naturally, this tip only applies to those of you who want to take Valorant seriously, have a goal of reaching a rank like Radiant, or even one day playing the game professionally. I'll drop a KovaaKs share code to my favorite click timing routine ever in the description of today's video. Next up, I want to touch on downloading ExitLag for lower ping and better FPS. I'm someone who has struggled for years with ping, since I live at a farm and play on a 4G hotspot. So using a software like ExitLag helps the game not only become way more responsive and easy in terms of me playing on better ping, but it also becomes much more fun. To download ExitLag, go to the first link in the description below. Head to the top of the website and find the download button. Hit it, and when you're on this page, press the big button that says download ExitLag. Once ExitLag has finished downloading, go through the installation process. When that's finished, ExitLag will open up and you'll have to make an account. To do that, press the register button, type in your name and email, and make a strong password. After that, log in to your account on the ExitLag software. As soon as that's done, you'll have the option to optimize over 2,000 different games. But in our case, we want to optimize Valorant. To do that, simply press the optimize game button, find Valorant, and press apply routes. For me, the automatic choice ExitLag recommends works perfectly, and it will for most of you as well. However, if you want to, you can also click in on where it says server and use their manual choice option, where you can connect to, for example, Europe and one of the Frankfurt servers if that's the best fit for you. Without ExitLag, I play on around 60 ping, and with it, I have the ping I play on. Right now, by using my link, you'll get 12 months of ExitLag for the price of 6. Consider checking it out, and thank you so much to ExitLag for sponsoring today's video. The second fundamental behind mastering aiming in Valorant is target switching. Good target switching is essentially being able to move from one target to another with precision and speed. It can also be flicking onto an enemy in a 1v1 situation. So practicing target switching is super underrated and something that can definitely take your game to the next level. Now, the first thing you need to know about target switching is something called lines. Lines are what kind of mouse movement you make when quickly making an adjustment onto an opponent. If you see an opponent to your right, you want to only have to horizontally adjust in a clean line and land onto his head. A lot of lower tier players need to both vertically and horizontally adjust onto the enemy, and that makes aiming a ton harder. This is of course also because of poor crosshair placement, which we'll get back to later. One very simple yet effective way to improve your target switching in lines is hopping into the range. Start shooting the bots from left to right, and move your crosshair with precision from one head to another. Be as fast as you can, but make sure you're hitting every shot. Do this from both left to right, but also right to left. When you've finished that, you can attempt far target switching, where you go for one enemy all the way to the left side of the range, and then flick as fast as you can, whilst still being accurate, over to the right side. If you find yourself struggling with a target switching like this, it will, without a shadow of a doubt be beneficial for you to play some aim training. I'll also drop an amazing target switching routine on KovaaKs in the description below, so consider checking it out if this sounds like a weakness you have. Moving on to the third aiming fundamental, we have movement. Without good movement, you can't aim at a high level in Valorant. The first basic movement principle you need to learn is being able to burst out 2 bullets with your Vandal, then moving a little bit, and then bursting out 2 more bullets. You need to be able to do this 100% consistently, preferably without crouching when doing said movement. By moving like this, you'll be one of the harder targets to hit in ranked. It's also a confident movement style, compared to how a lot of people move, where they just crouch instantly as soon as they see someone. If you haven't practiced the moving, then bursting, moving, bursting, moving, and so forth movement style before, it'll be very difficult in the beginning. You'll miss a lot of shots. You'll get one tapped often, and it will feel like you're doing something wrong. But just know that if you stick with it and practice it for a little bit of time, you're going to come out the other side as a much better player. One thing I need to note is that me saying that you shouldn't crouch when practicing this movement style doesn't mean I'm against crouching at all. I'm just against crouching in the way that everybody else in the world does it. Because if you do something a ton of other people do, you'll be an easy target to hit. So when it comes to movement, you need to have that in mind. Think about how you can move in an unorthodox way that still allows you to have good aim and hit nice shots. Another thing that will benefit you tremendously when it comes to mastering movement is not thinking about the fact that you can get headshotted and die. A ton of people, when they swing an angle, think in their minds that they're going to get one-tapped. And when they swing, what ends up happening is them getting sent straight to the spectator screen. You see, thinking you'll get one-tapped makes you play subconsciously worse. So whenever you're in a ranked match, force yourself to take duels with an empty mind. Your muscle memory and experience knows what to do. The fourth fundamental behind mastering aiming is trigger discipline. Very simply put it, trigger discipline is knowing when to shoot and when not to shoot. Now, why is this so important in Valorant? Well, at times, we get opportunities to get multiple kills when, for example, going on a flank. When going on said flank, you might see one opponent almost instantly, but he isn't looking at you, and then your thought may still be to instantly shoot him. However, if you can have patience and look for yet another opponent, you might be able to get 2 kills instead of 1. Plays like these are round winning, and often game winning too. I know a lot of people actually get bad aim when they attempt to shoot someone who's not looking, and this has happened one too many times to me too. The clue, however, to have good trigger discipline and consistently hit these kinds of shots is 3 simple things. Firstly, stay incredibly calm. Secondly, line up your shot carefully and make sure the first one hits. Even if you go down going for the second kill, at least you got one of the kills. And lastly, have a light mouse grip. This last tip right here made me probably twice as good at aiming, because back in the day, I used to tense my arm so incredibly much, and as a result, I had slightly shaky aim that wasn't anywhere near as consistent as it should have been. Trigger discipline is very hard to isolate and practice, but the next few times you get an opportunity to get multiple kills because you're behind the opposing team, or they simply don't see you, be calm and focus on your trigger discipline. Try to get at least 2. By doing this, you'll in the future be able to secure rounds that may very well be the difference between winning and losing a game. Coming up next, we have one of my favorite fundamentals of aiming, and that is micro adjustments. And the reason this is one of my favorite fundamentals is because very few players know how to practice their micro adjustments, meaning this is where we can easily get an advantage over others, and as a result, improve and rank up faster than most. Micro adjustments, easily explained, are the tiny mouse movements you need to make when a player makes a move and your crosshair isn't directly on his head but close. Micro adjustments can for some people be easier than the wider target switching, whereas for some, they can be great target switchers, but their micro adjustments can be pretty inaccurate and inconsistent. And the reason to why this is the case is super obvious, but I've never seen anyone with confidence share the reason behind it. So let me be the one to tell you. Micro adjustments on a high sense, anything above 0.5 800 dpi, are almost impossible to practice due to the fact that the mouse movements you're making are incredibly hard to replicate over time. In addition to this, daily changes to your mousepad, like humidity, how hot or cold it is in your room, or simply how muddy your mousepad is, will have a massive impact on how fast your mouse is gliding on a high sense, whereas on a lower sense, it won't have the same impact because you're relying more on larger arm movements, which are less affected by small variations in your mousepad's feel. Daily padding consistencies get smoothed out when you're moving across more mousepad space. I would not recommend a high sense to anyone unless you are gifted when it comes to hand-to-eye coordination, and some of you watching for sure are, but let me tell you, I am definitely not, and playing on a low sense, I play on anything between 0.1 to 0.125 1600 dpi, has made me infinitely better at the game, especially the aiming aspect aspect. I'm more consistent, my micro adjustments are clean, and in contrast to when I played on a high sense, I know exactly what I did wrong aim-wise when dying. When grinding on a high sensitivity, I would often not believe that I missed, and honestly, I was embarrassingly inconsistent. If you feel as though micro adjustments are something of an obvious weakness of yours, first jump down to a much lower sense, and be ready for it to be very uncomfortable the first few days. Don't give up on it just because it is. Stick with it for at least 1 week. If you still feel your micro adjustments aren't getting anywhere, hop on KovaaKs or AimLab and search for maps with the name micro adjustments in it. On KovaaKs at least, there are tons of maps where you can practice this, and if you put in just a few minutes a day, I'm talking 15 minutes, you'll become a master at micro adjustments in no time. Coming up as the second to last fundamental, we have crosshair placement. You all knew this was coming in this video before you even clicked on it, and for good reason. Having good crosshair placement is the fundamental behind having good aim. It's the simplest yet effective fundamental to master aim in all of Valorant, and therefore also something to spend a lot of time practicing. Even to this day, after having played thousands of hours, I'm still actively thinking about having good crosshair placement. That is how crucial of a skill it is. Now, having good crosshair placement comes down to naturally holding your crosshair at head level when running around the map, and not at the floor or at the sky like a lot of beginners naturally do. It comes down to understanding common enemy place and essentially always trying to minimize the distance your crosshair has to travel to hit an opponent's head. To work on my crosshair placement, I like to do something quite extreme, and that is recording a few of my ranked matches and then quickly going over every engagement I take when watching the VOD back. When watching these fights, I'm asking myself, did I have good crosshair placement in that duel? And if I didn't, how could it have been better? The reason I need to do it like this is because I'm already an advanced player who has spent an unhealthy amount of time on the game. And I'd say if you're a player in around Diamond 3 or above and enjoying the aspect of improving like I am, I'd recommend doing the same. However, if you're playing in a lower rank, you'll find more than enough improvement from simply hopping into DMs and actively thinking about having good crosshair placement. Throughout the entire DM round, that should be your only focus if you know your crosshair placement is a weakness. If it feels awkward or unnatural holding it at head level, that's a good thing. That awkwardness is you breaking bad habits and building new quality habits. You see, the reason a ton of people never really rank up to a high rank is because they build bad habits that they're not ever able to break, mainly because they don't understand that they have these bad habits. But if you do and isolate that bad habit and work on it over time, you'll see exponential improvement from the time you're doing it. The final thing I want to add in regards to crosshair placement is that you want to try to be as smooth as possible in the way you're playing and holding your crosshair. Make your way of playing slow, precise, and replicable. Don't play flashy just because your favorite streamer who has 5 times more time than you to throw out the game does. Focus on becoming a clean player with good fundamentals, whose playstyle can be replicated day by day. That is the clue to becoming someone consistently good. The very last aiming fundamental is something called pre-aiming. And for those of you who are a bit more experienced, you may wonder why this is a separate fundamental and not just under the crosshair placement category. And the reason is because if you practice each individually, you'll master both fundamentals to a way higher extent, compared to if you just throw both under the same title. You see, pre-aiming, in contrast to crosshair placement, is matching your crosshair up to the timing of your peak. So pre-aiming is something you usually do when playing aggressively, whereas crosshair placement is often more relevant when playing defensively. So the beauty of learning about both is that when you die in a round, you can instantly say either, oh, I had bad crosshair placement there and I need to improve it, or you can say that your pre-aiming needs some work. When doing this, you'll do yourself a favor, because practicing these two things are, again, not the same. When pre-aiming, you're tracking the geometry of a map. For example, curving around a corner with your crosshair. You're also adjusting for enemy elevation, known off angles, or if you're very advanced, jiggle peak spots. Mastering pre-aiming comes down to knowledge of the maps you're playing, knowledge of common spots players may be, and of course, a knowledge of how your character model moves in Valorant. With good crosshair placement, experience from ranked, and actively thinking about how you can get elite level pre-aiming, you'll actually get there. Something that holds people back tremendously and makes them bad pre-aimers is that they ghost peak angles. Let me explain. Let's say you enter a site, and you know that a common position for the enemy to be in is directly to the right when entering said site. So you check the spot, but for some reason you kinda don't really expect an opponent to be there. So you're not at all ready to shoot when someone is actually there, and maybe you even move your crosshair away before fully clearing it. Then you get one tapped in the dome and have to spectate the rest of the round. Guys, if you want to build good habits, you need to check every angle and genuinely expect an opponent to be there. If you build a habit of ghost peeking, you'll limit your own potential heavily. Alright, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I sincerely hope you were able to find 1 or 2 things you can work on from the information I've shared in today's video, because if you have, you'll over the next few weeks have the opportunity to practice in an incredibly effective way, and as a result, improve a ton. And that is always my goal when making these videos. Thanks, guys.